Tinder was just another app on my phone. Mostly it was a way to kill time and occasionally chat with interesting people. One evening, as I was absent-mindedly swiping, a profile caught my attention. The pictures were of a handsome guy with a captivating smile, but it was the bio that piqued my interest. Looking for someone who loves late-night walks as much as I do. Having always been an enthusiast of late-night strolls, I swiped right. Within moments, we matched. Our conversation flowed seamlessly, talking about our mutual love for night walks, the tranquility it brought, and how the world seemed different when shrouded in darkness. After a week of nonstop texting, he suggested we go on a late-night walk together. The idea was exciting, but also a bit nerve-wracking given the safety concerns. However, he seemed genuine, so I agreed, but chose a well-lit park in the center of the city. I arrived a bit early, taking a seat on a bench near the park's entrance. As I waited, I received a text from him. "I'm here. Where are you?" Confused, I looked around, but didn't see anyone that looked like him. I replied, "I'm on the bench near the entrance, wearing a red jacket." Seconds later, my phone buzzed again. "Turn around." I did, expecting to see him approaching, but there was no one. Just the empty path lit by the dim park lights. I began to feel uneasy. Texting him back, I asked, "Where are you?" The reply sent chills down my spine. "I've always been closer than you think." Suddenly it dawned on me. The familiarity in the conversations, the shared love for night walks, it was all too tailored. I quickly called a friend and relayed my location, asking her to stay on the line. As I tried to keep calm and plan my exit, I noticed a figure standing in the shadows of a tree. It was a man, but not the one from the Tinder pictures. He was just staring, not moving. Then my phone buzzed again. "Remember the time you went for a walk at 2 a.m. last month? I was there." Horror washed over me. This wasn't a date. This was someone who had been observing me. Without waiting another second, I ran towards the exit, my friend on the call, guiding me to take unpredictable turns. I could hear the footsteps behind me, getting closer, but adrenaline pushed me forward. As I neared the park's edge, a car screeched to a halt beside me. It was my friend, who had thankfully arrived just in time. I jumped in and we sped away, leaving the shadowed figure behind. We reported the incident to the police, but they never found him. All they had were the messages and a blurry CCTV image from the park entrance. It's been months, but the fear remains. Now, when I go out for those late-night walks, I always wonder if he's still out there, watching from the shadows, and if there are others like him lurking on platforms we believe are safe. I never thought a simple swipe on Tinder would turn my life upside down. As a college student living in a big city, meeting new people was part of the thrill. But what I didn't anticipate was just how sinister some of those meetings could be. His name was Brian. His profile was, by all appearances, standard: gym selfies, a dog photo, and a description that described his love for travel and music. After matching, we quickly hit it off. The back and forth banter was enjoyable, and he seemed well-spoken and kind. We decided to meet in person. Our first date was at a popular cafe in the heart of the city. Brian was even more charming in person. However, he was oddly insistent on ordering my drink for me. That should have been my first warning sign. Still, I let it slide. Throughout the date, I noticed his gaze was constantly fixated on me, even when I was looking away. Again, I brushed it off, thinking he was just nervous. On our second date, things took a turn. Brian invited me to a party at his place. I accepted, thinking it was a chance to meet his friends and see another side of him. When I arrived, I realized there wasn't anyone else. It was just him waiting for me in an ominously dim-lit apartment. "They all canceled last minute," he claimed with an unsettling smirk. Growing more uncomfortable by the minute, I decided to leave. That's when he moved closer, insisting I stay. He pressed a cloth against my face, which reeked of a strong, bitter odor. My vision started to blur. My limbs felt heavy, and within seconds, I lost consciousness. When I awoke, I found myself tied to a chair in what appeared to be a different location, with tape covering my mouth. Panic surged through me as I wriggled, trying to free myself. The room was dimly lit, the walls covered in faded, peeling wallpaper. I could hear muffled sounds from the next room, but I couldn't make out any voices. A cold realization dawned on me that I wasn't alone in this ordeal. I could hear faint murmurs and soft sobs. Someone else was with me, bound just like I was. Hours seemed like days, and just when I was losing hope, the door creaked open. Brian entered, his demeanor far from the charming guy I thought I knew. However, what I hadn't noticed on our dates was the heavy boot mark on the door behind him. It appeared someone had tried breaking in. As he moved closer, my heart raced, expecting the worst, but before he could reach me, a deafening crash echoed through the room. The door had been kicked open, revealing 3 of my friends, wielding baseball bats and a fierce determination in their eyes. They had been tracking my phone when I hadn't answered their messages and had called them in my last lucid moment. Amid the chaos, Brian made a swift exit, disappearing into the shadows before anyone could react. My friends quickly untied me, and as we ventured further into the house, we discovered 2 other frightened women in adjacent rooms, victims just like me. Through subsequent investigations, we found out that Brian has evaded the authorities in multiple other states for similar heinous crimes. The relief of being safe was overwhelming, but the haunting knowledge that Brian was still out there, somewhere, cast a dark shadow over the gratitude I felt. I never imagined that a simple swipe right could lead me down a path of terror. It started innocently enough. After months of being single and with the urging of my friends, I decided to try out Tinder. Within a few days, I matched with Mark. He seemed normal, even charming in a laid-back way. His profile showcased a man with a clean-cut beard, deep-set hazel eyes, and a penchant for hiking and indie music, pretty much my type. Our conversations flowed effortlessly. We had a shared love for quirky cafes and foreign films. After a week of texting, Mark proposed we meet up. Eager to see if our virtual chemistry translated into real life, I agreed. We decided to meet at a local park, grab a coffee, and enjoy a leisurely walk. The day was perfect, clear skies and a pleasant chill in the air. Mark was punctual. He greeted me with a warm smile. His eyes, however, seemed a little more intense in person, but I brushed it off as nerves. The first half of our date was wonderful. We chatted, laughed, and Mark even showed off some of his dance moves, twirling me around a gazebo. Yet things took a turn when he suggested we drive to a more secluded spot he knew, which offered an incredible view of the city. Eager to prolong the date, I agreed. Mark's car was an old, beaten-up sedan. The interior smelled faintly of mildew. Not wanting to be rude, I said nothing, making casual conversation as he drove us to our destination. The drive felt longer than expected. The city's buzz gave way to isolated roads surrounded by woods. My unease grew, but Mark kept reassuring me that we were close. However, when he took a sharp turn into an unpaved road leading deeper into the woods, my alarm bells went off. I asked Mark where we were going, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. He didn't answer, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. I fumbled for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. The child lock was activated. Panic surged as the realization hit. I was trapped. Summoning all the courage I had, I attempted to reason with him. "Mark, I think I'd like to go back. Please, let's turn around." Still, he remained silent, driving deeper into the woods. I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket and quickly texted my location to my best friend, along with a message that I was in danger, hoping she'd see it in time. Suddenly, Mark pulled over in a clearing. The place was eerily silent except for the distant hoot of an owl. He turned off the engine and faced me, his eyes cold. "I thought we could have some alone time here," he whispered menacingly. Without a second thought, I grabbed my bag and smashed it against his face. It gave me a few precious seconds as he recoiled. I scrambled to the other side, kicking the back seat, and managed to open the opposite door, stumbling out into the chilly night. Without looking back, I ran blindly through the trees, branches scratching at my face and arms. Every rustle, every crunch of leaves sent me into a fresh panic, thinking Mark was right behind me. After what felt like hours but was likely minutes, I stumbled upon a road. Desperation fueled me to flag down the first car I saw. The kind couple inside saw my state, took me in, and immediately called the police. The police acted quickly, using my initial location message to find Mark's car. However, Mark was nowhere to be found. Inside his car, they found ropes, tape, and a knife. The horrifying implication of what could have happened to me sent shivers down my spine. It turned out Mark was an alias. His real name was David, and he was wanted in connection with several missing persons cases in neighboring states. While he was eventually apprehended months later, the trauma of that night continues to haunt me.